Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new era, a new administration, but the same revolution here at the one podcast known worldwide, powered by the Notaro Network in association with the anti-more of the same network. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the revolution known as the Yin and the Yang, the new Yin and the Yang. And ladies and gentlemen, I am still and always will be the two-time former USW heavyweight champion of the world and lifelong martial artist known as Anthony Chu, a.k.a. Chuzilla, the ultimate thriller. All muscle, no filler, baby. And on today's episode, we introduce you to a new co-navigator of this ship who brings his experience, his charisma to the show. A handicap match may be brewing in the MMA world. We'll review UFC 224, Bellator 199, and my personal meeting with a Steelers legend this past weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we go old school to review the movie Only the Strong, which turns 25 years old this year. And we need the help of the fans to help vote for one right thing. And we're going to talk more about that and give some details, shoot out, Q&A, and a whole lot more. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce this man right here, making his podcast debut on the network, his network. Allow me to give this man a proper introduction.
Here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he is the debut casting, master blasting, flabbergasting, shock jocking, rockin' robbin', show stopping co-host of mine, Mr. Co-host to you. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Glen. Happy Mother's Day, Notaro, baby. Glen, it is a refreshing sight, an unbelievable feeling to be a part of a new network, a new era here at the Notaro Network. I almost said that one thing that nobody wants to hear of, the MOTS Network, because we ain't part of that anymore. Glen, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Anthony, how you doing? It's great to be here. It's great to be back on the Yin and the Yang podcast. And you smell it? It's a new day out there in the podcasting world.
Oh, it's a new day. Yes, it is. Oh, we're going to start throwing out pancakes now?
Yeah, I got some if you need, you know.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I personally like blueberries on mine. That's just
Blueberry?
me. Yeah,
I
definitely.
like chocolate chips.
There you go. All right. Oh, now that's what I'm talking about. So, brother, how was your week?
Pretty good, you know. Just hanging out there and enjoying a low-key weekend, relaxing. Finally, after a very, very busy week, you know, appearing on another show earlier this week, which was big money. And just taking it, you know, very dreary weekend here in New York. You know, so just laying low, getting ready for to do this show.
Now, you are in the Long Island territory, am I correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, allow me to give you a little bit of a premise as to what we do here within the show. So, the way that it operates, at least for the last 32 episodes, and I guess this is just a standard, you know, basic set of concepts here, is I try my best. We don't tap into religion, politics. We don't want to get anybody too upset here. I think the only people who would be upset would be the victims of the chewed out segment, which we'll get into in a moment. We try our absolute best also to really kind of like, you know, we say what we want to say. You know, we do what we want to do. We don't sing. That's the one thing that we don't do because that previous administration is pretty much over. It ain't karaoke night, brother. All right. And the guy had a shit voice anyway. So, truth be told, you know, we talk a lot about mixed martial arts, traditional martial arts. We talk about contact sports, health, fitness, motivation. You know, we give plugs whenever we can. And by the way, fuckity, fuck. Because, and by the way, that was Cartman, not me. Anyway, so going upon the heels of, and by the way, I am zombied out right now. Oh yes, another thing. We don't use the one dreaded word, and I'm going to say it now. The editing team back there of Jeremiah and Winston can actually attest to this. We don't use the W word. Do you know what W is?
What is the W word? Oh, wait, we're not going to use it, though. What was that?
It begins with a W. I just said it, actually. It begins with a W, ends with a K. It is known as work.
What is that? Who does that?
Exactly. It's true.
Exactly.
You know,
only ensign.
So, yeah, we just don't talk about that because you know what it is? I don't want to affiliate myself with any type of company, organization. You know, we do this after hours. We do this on our personal time. And we do this basically for the love of podcasting and the love of the game. So we really, really try not to dive into any of that, you know, unless we really, unless you want to. You know, me personally, I just don't. You know what I mean? So those are the three deadly sins here, you know? Religion, politics, and the other thing. So now I do have to ask you something about, you know, your grind. I call it the grind, by the way. That's the substitution word. We're going to get into this because I want to, first of all, start off by giving the fans a bit of a background about yourself. Now, I'm looking at your studio over in the Long Island territory, and let me say, man, you have a very nice, put together, very professionally set up studio.
Thank you.
You know, I'm sure, you know, your manor, Notaro Manor, is supposed to be, you know, outstanding, and by the looks of it, it looks amazing. So, give the audience here, give Glen's Generals and Choose Commandos, you know, a little background about yourself, man. I mean, you know, let us know, you know, who we're working with.
Well,
By the way, I didn't just use the word; I used working with.
Right. Well, born and raised in Long Island here. Here the palatial mansion of Hicksville that I am. I share with Billy Joel also here in Hicksville. Well, he long moved, but I stayed behind. You know,
Okay.
because I like to be in touch with the people.
All right.
My daily grind. For the last 11 years in Farmingdale.
Very nice.
Been over 11 and a half years in this place. Doing pretty good for myself. There, you know, with the company that I do the daily grind for, they do a lot of good for pharmaceuticals and stuff. And my other part-time daily grind, you know, like to get in touch with the people, is an entertainment venue here on Long Island.
Now you've acquired a big fan following, a big underground fan following that's actually sprouting about. It's blossoming right now, and you hold some very interesting distinctions. So, in your part-time grind, what do you do?
I help with the public where they get themselves situated at the NYCB Live, home of the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
Whoa!
And,
really?
Really? Yeah. It's pretty good. I've been there since day one once they reopened the building, and I gotta say I love it.
Holy smokes! Well,
nice
we're gonna definitely. I'm sorry. What was that?
It's a nice little gig to have.
All right, there you go. Now we're gonna use that experience, and we're gonna use some of your. I'm gonna have to pick your brain about this one because the first topic at hand that I want to talk about is I want to go over UFC 224 and Bellator 199. So, one of the very first things that stands out about UFC 224 is that this is a pay-per-view I didn't watch because last night I put in 17 hours in the grind, so I didn't get to watch it. And by the time I got out of there, forget it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I know you saw it, right? You saw a good amount of it.
I saw some highlights this morning.
Okay.
Of it.
All right.
I didn't get to see it myself.
Now, for those of you who don't know, there was the main championship fight was I believe it was the Bantamweight Women's Championship, was Amanda Nunes fought Raquel Pennington and basically gave her a 5th round knockout. 2 minutes 36 seconds into the round five. Did you catch any highlights on that?
Yes, I did. The fight actually kind of bothers me a little bit with
Why? What's the bother?
Pennington's corner. She looked like she gave up, but she was kept saying
Really?
she's done.
She kept saying she's
And
done.
yeah, she's like, I'm done, I can't go anymore. And the corner is like, no, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna fight. We worked hard for this. You're gonna go back out there and fight. And then she went back out there and basically
Got knocked
you know,
out.
yeah, pretty much,
Wow. Well, that draws a line of controversy because as a fighter, I can see it from coaches' standpoints, and I could see it, which I've done before, for one of my friends who made his MMA debut some years back, and then I could see it from a fighter's point of view because, I've trained in MMA before, and the thing about it is that it really gives you a stark question as to, do you push a fighter to go out there and force them to fight when they don't want to? Or do you really respect the fighter's wishes to say, hey, listen, if you can't give us any more, we're going to protect you for safety purposes, and we're not going to have, throw you out to the wolves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I would honestly listen to the fighter because they're the ones out there, their health. They know if they're not going to be able to go out there and do it anymore. And the health is number one. If they feel like they can't go out there and do it, you should listen to them and be like, look, something's up. They're not feeling it. God forbid something happens, in the ring, gets beat up. And I've seen that before happen with fights where the guy just got knocked out and then a day or two later, something happens, brain hemorrhage or something. And
Oh, God,
they
yeah.
unfortunately pass
Yeah.
away.
Well, if I was Raquel Pennington, I would just basically fire my entire team
Oh, sure.
and just move
Definitely.
on to a different camp, get a different perspective, come back stronger. Because, if nobody's lasted 5 rounds with Amanda Nunes. She is badass, man. And I think that Raquel Pennington is one of my favorite fighters, and she's also hot. But at the same time, like, if she could last 5 rounds, I think that her camp did something right up to the point where they forced her to go out there. They shouldn't have done that. That really, and I agree with you 100%, is that, they have to protect the fighter's health and safety first, above all else. You know what I mean? Now, the second fight that was very surprising is that Kelvin Gastelum actually beat Jacare Souza. Now, Jacare is no easy fight. He is a virtual grappling virtuoso. He's a phenomenal striker. I couldn't believe it that he fought him. Did you watch and beat him? Did you watch any highlights from that fight?
This one I didn't get a chance to see it. I just saw the women fight and then the other fight with King Mo.
Mm.
That was the only two I actually got to see. But I couldn't believe he beat him either because I was able to see was it Kelvin? Kevin his name?
Yeah, Kelvin Gastelum.
Gastelum? Yeah, I saw him fight at the Coliseum in July.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, he fought Chris Weidman.
Oh, wow.
That was the main event that they had, and yeah, it was supposed to be a good fight, and Weidman beat him. He took him to the limit.
Very nice.
And, yeah, it's one of those things. You're trying to watch the fight and also work at the same time. Grind at the same time, and edit that out, edit. But
we'll have to go
beep. But try to grind and stuff there. But yeah, he put up a good fight, and
okay,
who knows who's going. It's just one of those things. You go in there, yeah, the door locks, anything could happen.
Yep, exactly. Which is what makes MMA very, very exciting, because the last fight may not necessarily be. It may be a main event on paper, but it may not be the best fight. But yet, the first fight could probably be the best one of the whole night, and the rest of the card can suck. You just never know what can happen because there's no predetermined outcome, So, with that fight, that ended in a split decision for Kelvin, him winning. Now, there was a huge thing about Mackenzie Dern, this female fighter, fighting Amanda Cooper, and she beat her via rear naked choke on a submission in round 1. And Mackenzie Dern actually, in the strawweight division, she did not make weight by 7 pounds. I mean, that's a lot for a female.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that they actually went through with the fight. The other one was John Lineker defeated Brian Keller via third round TKO. I'm not sure. I don't even know who either one of them are. I've heard of John Lineker. I've never really seen him fight before. The one fight that I'm very, very surprised about, and this was just like, holy smokes. Like my mind was blown when I read this, was the idea, I kid you not, Lyoto the Dragon Machida beat Vitor Belfort. I mean, via a second round TKO. Belfort is no joke. And Machida has seen better days, and I'm just really surprised. And I heard that Lyoto Machida beat him with a traditional karate front kick. That's very rare. I mean, the last person who used a front kick to win in a huge manner like that was Anderson Silva. And surprisingly, he knocked out Vitor Belfort. So it's interesting how history repeats itself, no? Is he just susceptible to the front kick?
That's it. He just can't take that kick, that's people know how to beat him with that front kick. And I don't know if you heard what happened after, like Vitor Belfort retired.
No, he did?
Yeah, that's right.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
He formally announced his retirement.
Yeah, that's what I believe. That's what I heard, that he retired after last night's fight. Knocked out by...
Whoa. That's very surprising to me. I didn't even know. I thought that he just basically said that, I just will take time and just regroup and think about it. I didn't know he even officially announced his retirement. That's insane. Now, that means that's the second person Lyoto Machida actually knocked out and retired. Do you know who the other person is?
No, who?
Randy Couture.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Lyoto Machida. This is where my former partner would go, really?
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 So, that's what the previous administration would have said. Now, the interesting thing is that, Lyoto Machida knocked out Randy Couture in his last fight with a front kick and retired him. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Definitely. He knows how to really lay it in there with his foot kick and retire a guy.
Did that come in as a shock to people, or did people expect that he was going to announce a retirement, speech?
That I'm not sure, but I think it was like they know when it's time.
Belfort's been around the game for a long time. Long
know
time.
These guys too. That I think I just read this morning that Tito Ortiz is coming back out of retirement.
Oh, and speaking of that, do you know who he's possibly fighting? You won't believe this.
Please don't tell me Ken Shamrock.
No. Dude, Chuck Liddell.
Again? Wow.
The Iceman wants to come back out of retirement, and it's interesting because we're going to save that for later on, because I smell victim, if you know what I mean. So now, heading over to the competition, you now have Bellator 199 that was also going head-to-head UFC 224. Now, the main thing about Bellator 199 is the idea that they have a Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament that pretty much they were at the quarterfinals, and you saw Ryan Bader, who took on Muhammad Lawal, or King Mo. Now, the story about this was that it's a rematch. The buildup of the fight was that it's a rematch from their collegiate wrestling days, where Lawal, King Mo, right, beat Ryan Bader by a technical fall. So now, the former light heavyweight champion, King Mo, got his revenge. The light heavyweight champion Ryan Bader got his revenge and apparently knocked out King Mo in just 15 seconds or something like that. Like, what happened? You saw the fight, right?
Yeah, this is the one I actually was able to watch before we went on broadcasting. Bader like just went for a punch. Mo went down, and then Bader just took advantage of it and just started like ground and pound.
First round?
First round,
Holy crap. So there's a 15-second fight then.
15-second fight. Yeah, that's all.
Oh
It's one
my
thing. The
God.
one little swing, and then the guy's King Mo stumbles back, goes down to the ground. Bader just takes advantage of it.
Wow. And
One of
Bader
those things
is
I
a
don't think it happened.
bad Bader's a bad dude when it comes to wrestling. He is one of
Mhm.
the best. And he is I'm now, it's interesting because another former and Bader's a former UFC fighter. So, now he advances into the semifinals of that heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. Now, my question is now, another former UFC fighter in John Fitch made a successful Bellator debut, and he beat Paul Daly, Paul Syntax Daly, who I absolutely despise because the guy is just a complete dick. Between him and Michael Bisping, they're the two most hated fighters I've ever witnessed in that come out of England. And I love people from England, but these two guys are absolute assholes. And the thing about it is, it sets up a fight now for possibly John Finch fighting former UFC fighter and now current welterweight champion Rory McDonald, which is pretty interesting. Now, elsewhere within the fight itself, a guy named Aaron Pico destroyed Lee Morrison. I got to see some highlights on that. Pretty much, it was like let's just put it this way: it was like a grappling clinic, that Pico put out. And then the other one was a knockout that of a former UFC heavyweight fighter, Czech Congo, recorded his first stoppage since the year of 2014. And he knocked out a guy named Javi Ayala with a brutal right hand in the first round. Now, this is actually, really, really making me question something. All these guys in Bellator that were former UFC fighters who are coming into Bellator, they're all getting wins. They're doing good for themselves. Now, does that basically mean that homegrown talent in Bellator is not up to par or can't compare to UFC fighters?
It seems like it is. These guys, they must train different in the UFC, whatever styles they're going through over there, and they're bringing that knowledge into Bellator, and something Bellator maybe needs to look at. Like, these guys are coming into our territory and beating us. What's
Right,
going
right.
on here?
So maybe they got to look into the training camp and try to
Definitely.
revamp or adjust or something like that.
Hmm.
That makes sense, because I mean a lot of these guys they train in certain camps. And it depends on finding the right camp and all that, and then seeing where how they build you up. I mean every camp is very different. You know what I mean? Um, so let me ask you this. Now you are currently a part of the NYCB. Is it the NYCB Live? Is it now? What is it? What is the formal name of this place
Um,
that your part time grind is in?
it's still Nassau Coliseum to me, and to a lot of
Okay,
people. But
of course,
with
to me as
with the
well.
yeah, the corporate name, it's like NYCB Live.
Okay,
But they get the corporate rights onto it, and then it's like NYCB Live, and then home of the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. That's what like Bruce Buffer would say, or Michael Buffer said when did some fighting over
okay.
there. That's the name they give it.
So now you've been now. I've attended MMA shows on a very local, possibly regional or county scale, but I've never been to an MMA show where it's on a grand scale, like a UFC or a Bellator or something like that. What and you have, right? Like, what have you
Yeah.
attended? Being employed there.
I've always wanted to go to Bellator when it was in Connecticut. I think Mohegan Sun. I never got a chance to because Bobby Lashley was fighting on that card. I'm like, oh, God,
Yes.
see. But it was cool to work the event. It was a UFC on Fox. It was cool to be there very early. It's a long night of UFC. These people paid good money
Right.
to go to this, but it's
Right.
like a good 6 hours of fighting, and it's like nonstop.
Six
Of
hours of
Yeah,
fighting? How
it
many
was
how many
long. It
matches do you think they had?
started like they had 13 matches,
Holy smokes!
And but it was cool. Like before the show, before the doors opened up, the guys were, guess they're doing like not training, but they're getting like the cage ready,
Yeah.
and they would have guys mimic Weidman, and they keep coming out to like Tom Petty that won't back down, and the guys
Oh
would like
wow!
try to the mimic, hey, the guy coming to the ring, like these little guys and stuff, like
Right,
a
right.
referee and stuff coming out of ring. It was pretty cool that they kept on doing it over and over, like rehearsals.
Holy
But
smokes!
yeah,
Okay.
like it doesn't fill up at first the fans and everything, and there's like fathers and sons and taking them but
Like
there was one
kids?
thing. Was that
Like kids?
kids? Yeah, some kids were there too. Old
What?
lady. Oh yeah, old ladies were there. I had some old ladies sitting
Old
by me.
ladies?
Yeah, they were loving it. They were just the
What the
mix.
hell show is this? This ain't Ringling Brothers, you know?
Yeah, I know. That was last year actually, but that was exactly 1 year ago today when this is being taped. But
Holy smokes!
I had one lady coming around with a baby in her hand, and she's sitting there. She's like, we're pacing back and forth. I'm like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, my husband's fighting. He's in
What?
there. I heard about him.
Oh wow! So
So
you've
like,
seen UFC on Fox, right?
yeah, yeah.
Said you've seen that at NYCB. Now let me ask you this: for those of you who have never been to a major promotional show, okay, number one, let me just say that, especially UFC, I don't know about Bellator, and I'm sure Bellator is pretty expensive. I tried to go to the one where Matt Mitrione fought Fedor in the Garden, and they're talking, I mean, minimal for nosebleed seats, like $500-600.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can imagine what front row or floor is like. I'm guessing that it's not cheap, right? What exactly is the crowd like? Now that you've been there and you've seen it for yourself, what are the crowds like? Because when you go to a very, very local show, there are only three types of people who go to local shows. And I'm talking about like local shows in like high school gyms, like Knights of Columbus type places, like these or college, state, not stadiums but arenas. In other words, on a smaller local promotion, you have a lot of rabid fans. I've always said there are three types of fans that go to MMA shows. There's either the ones who really appreciate the sport and will cheer just like fans are. It's just like in pro wrestling. There are marks, and then
Yeah.
there are fans.
Mm-hmm.
The marks are the stupid people who make themselves look dumb. You know, and then you have fans. Like I consider myself a fan, even though I joke around and I like to have a good time and I chant along or whatever. But you have a second type of MMA fan who basically is just rabid as far as being stupid. Like you'll hear people go, fucking kill him, break his fucking neck, blah, 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 doing stupid, yelling stupid shit. And then you have a third type where people are kind of like either forced to be there because, let's say, a girlfriend is taking her man there or whatever, or she's forced to go, or like you have family of the fighters or friends of the fighters or whatever who are just shouting for one side. So they're not there really for a whole card. They're just there to see their friend or family member fight. You know what I mean? What's the audience like when, with the UFC on Fox that you've experienced?
I did see. I guess the people you said, the guys bringing their girlfriends. I think it was a
Okay.
girlfriend. I'm not sure. It was an older gentleman with a younger woman, and he was like parading her around a little bit. So I don't know if that was his squeeze for the night or something. But a very friendly guy. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
There were people there supporting one of the local fighters. There was a few local fighters on the card. Like there was kids, the shirts. I guess the guy had the gym or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they were helping him out, and there was a fight, Patrick Cummins and versus I'm probably saying his name wrong, Guillen Villante,
Yeah. I think it's Villante or something like that.
Villante, because I believe
think
he's from Belgium, and in the fight, Vellante, everybody thought he won. He won the fight, but referee's decision went to Patrick Cummins, and his face was bust. If you Google Patrick Cummins after this fight, he even put out there like on social media, it's like, "Oh, I won, ladies. Hey, ladies, I actually won the fight," or something like that. He was busted up.
Oh, damn, man. Holy
You got to
shit.
go to the hospital, just.
Ay, ay, ay. Oof.
But you get your rabid fans. I'm gonna dial it back a little to the first UFC at the Garden. I went to the weigh-in. I actually wanted to go to that UFC, but
Right.
every time I go to Ticketmaster, they're trying to give me the $8,000 seats, and I wasn't. The weigh-in was crazy with a bunch of Irish people from Conor McGregor,
Right.
and they were just chanting, singing along for that whole hour, and even in the lobby, they were just going nuts out into the streets on
Really?
34th Street. It's insane. If you get like one of the good fighters and their fan base comes out, there's going to be a rabid crowd.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, like, what were they like during the fights and all that? Were there chants? Were there like, stuff like that, or?
Nothing like that. Pretty much more just for like the Weidman at the end, like the local guy. People
Right,
were
because he
going
was a
crazy
hometown
for
hero.
him.
Right.
Yeah, that's when he won the pop in that building. I actually on all the wrestling events I've attended there, I haven't heard
Yeah.
that since the '90s with Austin and stuff. That crowd erupted, and I even went nuts too. I even got in with the moment too. I even was cheering for the guy once he got the win. Like once the guy tapped out, and just everybody going crazy, and
Wow.
it was a good crowd.
Crazy, man.
Nice solid
Okay.
crowd.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow, man. So there you go. So there, for those of you who didn't watch Bellator 199 and UFC 225, 224, this is what happened here. I hope you enjoyed that segment there. Now, what's interesting is that, Glenn, I consider you to be a legend in the making. So speaking of legends, last night I was in the grind, and what we were doing is that we were doing an event for an honor society, which honors basically achievements of immigrants, people who are descendants of immigrants, and just like in different fields of endeavor who tried to change the world and do positive things. One of them being the fact that I'm a very diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Mhm.
One of the people that was advertised to be there and showed up as the headliner was the legendary Pittsburgh Steeler fullback / halfback Franco Harris.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
So meeting Franco Harris, I'm going to say this to you now. I knew he was coming to the site, to the venue, and all of a sudden, it's like the day before, I'm sitting on my computer, and all of a sudden, I'm just like looking at who's being honored in this venue because I want to see, who's coming, like celebrity wise. And all of a sudden, I see Franco Harris, and all of a sudden, you see my teeth like. It's like comes right out, like it spits right out of my mouth. I'm like, oh my God. So here I am. I have a terrible towel, and I'm holding it up. And as he's walking into the building, I'm holding it up, and he's like, holy smokes. He is like a Pittsburgh Steelers fan in New York. I can't believe it. Right. So he comes up to me, and he's like so nice, really, really cool. And he just comes up to me, shakes my hand, gives me a hug. He's like, oh, man, it's like really cool seeing a fan here. Nobody's giving me any football references except for you. And this is in front of all my bosses. You know what I mean? So they're looking at me like, oh, my God, like, what is he doing? And he just he says, how'd you become a fan? And then I explained it. And then he said, hey, do you have a Sharpie by hand, or can you find one? And here I am. I pull it right out of my pocket. I'm like, here you go, Mr. Harris. So he takes it, and he's like signing it. Then he signs it, and then all of a sudden we're talking football, whatever. And then he's like, hey, he goes, do you happen to have a cell phone with you with a good camera? I said, yeah. He goes, good. Let's take a picture with the terrible towel. I'm like, oh, my God. So, like, I'm shaking. I'm nervous and shit. He was one of the single nicest people I've ever met. And to basically shake the hand of a guy who was, part of the Immaculate Reception was just unreal. I mean, he was playing football and already a legend while I wasn't even on this earth yet. So to meet somebody like that, for me, it was like meeting Bruno Sammartino. And by the way, speaking of Bruno, speaking of legends, um, you've met Bruno Sammartino. I mean, when he passed on, you put a picture up there, right?
Yes, I have.
Well, what was it like meeting Bruno? Because Bruno recently passed on, so I mean, like, and not too long ago. So, what was that experience like meeting? How did you meet him?
I was in the city to meet Roddy Piper.
Oh, really?
I never at that time back in 2002. I'd never seen Roddy Piper before.
Another legend who's
Oh,
gone to the
and
stars.
so I was online with the guy Vladimir, the guy I used to see in the front row all the time at the garden with the glasses.
Oh yeah.
So I was hanging out with him.
Oh, you
And
know him?
lo and behold,
Like you're
he said he
good
couldn't
with
go
him?
to Survivor Series 2002 because it was too much money. He was going to watch it at WWF New York. And
So you're a
so we're
friend of
hanging
his,
out.
basically, right?
What was that?
You're a friend of Vladimir's?
No, not at all.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it was just he just happened to he was online and I was right behind him. And he had all these photos of Piper he wanted signed and everything. Then out of nowhere, here comes Bruno Sammartino down the street. Don't know why he was.
Whoa. Holy
He was
smokes.
walking. Yeah, he was just walking. I'm like, Bruno's, holy crap, Bruno Sammartino. So, Vladimir gets a photo of him, and then Bruno comes to me. He's like, oh, you want a photo or an autograph? And I'm like, and I couldn't find a pen or anything. I'm like, we'll just take a photo, sir. And just he shook my hand. I'm like, a pleasure to meet you. And just a nice guy. Just he could have been a jerk if he wanted to, but I don't think that's not in his nature to be that. But it was like really cool. And then also in that same day, online to meet Piper at Planet Hollywood, Mick Foley cut me in line.
Oh wow.
So then security's like, come on, go up on stage. I'm like, what? So I'm standing with Foley, Piper, and myself, three legends on one stage, and then I shook Foley's hand. He almost knocked me off the thing.
Holy
But
smoke. I heard he was a badass man.
yeah, but to meet Bruno, and he had like three stages of Bruno, like three different looks. He had like the look when he was wrestling, and then when he got older, he had like a different look, and then at the Hall of Fame, he had like the bald head and the mustache. But he still looked good at 80 something years old. It looks like he could still beat up anybody.
Wow.
It's a shame, but legends do have to pass on, and he was one of the
Yeah.
best.
No, he was awesome, man. I mean, like, we really were exchanging a tapestry of facts and stories a few episodes back. And, it's interesting because, a lot of these legends are very humble as long as you come up to them the right way. Like, I mean, I could have easily just gone up to Franco House and go, oh my God. But I didn't. So, it's like I really came up to him very humbly and he was really cool about it, man. So that's awesome, man. Just the legends are meeting legends here.
That's it. And maybe we'll get Franco Harris on the show for yourself. But he really seems like a nice guy. Like I've seen interviews with Franco Harris, and he just seems like a down to earth guy. And that's a memory you're gonna have forever. Like this guy did this for me. He asked me to give the autograph. He asked for the photo.
Right. I didn't have to say, hey, could you do this and could you do that? He actually offered it. That was the very first celebrity I've ever met who actually offered it instead of you asking. You know what I mean? Which is pretty awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, have you, speaking of legends, and these are two people that I would love to meet one day. I had a chance to meet Ralph Macchio, and I had a chance to meet William Zabka actually out in Chiller Theater, some back like in like 2012 or 2013, but I just never got a chance to some years back. Have you been watching this show on YouTube Red, or have you seen, like, they put up the first two episodes for free? Have you ever heard of the show Cobra Kai?
I've heard of it. I have not had a chance to watch it yet. But I did see that they did put up the two first episodes for free, and
Right.
I did see this application I have on another tablet that they have the whole season for me to watch on there. Free of charge, and I might have to take advantage of that. to try it, and I know it's not legal.
Oh yeah, definitely take
but
advantage of it for sure.
but maybe the network will pay for it.
Oh wow! Well, finally, I'm in a network where people actually pay for things.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, maybe somebody out there in podcast land may want to take some notes here, pal. Because just to literally, it's like to get a $30 ticket paid for to Chiller Theater was like pulling teeth at a dentist. And then all of a sudden, he flips the bill over at B-Dubs. It's like I couldn't believe what I saw. It's like I discovered water. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. It was just like a monumental first. It's like at one time the best rapper in the world was white. The best golfer in the world was a minority. He fucking pays for a $30 bill. I couldn't believe it. Holy smokes. Sometimes you got to press your luck, folks, because as far as I'm concerned, you got to dare to be great. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy crap. So now it's interesting. I got to see the first two. I saw the entire series, right? But we're going to take it per episode. We did episode 1 and 2. We did a review of that. Now, episode 3 and 4 of the Cobra Kai is that now you have established, and if you could follow along with me, Glenn, you've established now why Johnny Lawrence is where he's at and what he does to change, how he is. And then now you have to get himself back on his feet to reopen Cobra Kai. Now you have Ralph Macchio, who, Daniel LaRusso. Daniel LaRusso now, again, has been out of karate for a while. He hasn't done it in a long time. He's kind of like, you could tell he's letting his anger get the best of him. So in other words, all the lessons about balance, all the lessons about, the martial way of being a true martial artist and living that lifestyle is just gone. It's out the window in his life. He's so consumed by having a teenage rebellious daughter. He's consumed about having this, a lot of pressures at work. He's forgetting what's important. And then yet you see Johnny is now changing himself, and he's realizing what is important, which is reopening Cobra Kai. The problem is he doesn't have enough students. He only has one student, which is his neighbor. And this kid is pretty much kind of like, you ever seen like in high school when you went to school, like geeks? Mm-hmm. People who are just like not confident themselves, really so Johnny reopens Cobra Kai because he feels that, and he's very non-PC. He's like, look, it's something that your generation of pussies basically need. You need this training. You need to learn how to work. You need to learn how to know how to earn something, and instead of it just being given to you. And it's interesting because the writers of the show are really reflecting how, this generation of young children, of young kids now, they're handed everything. They don't have to work for it. It's this me type generation. And, and Johnny's all about, old school, about like earning your keep. You know what I mean? And then you also get introduced to now Johnny has a son who's basically a delinquent. He's, like kind of like doing a lot of misdemeanor crimes. He's, basically like fraudulent, pretty much, ripping people off, screwing people over, kind of like the previous administration that was here, on the show. And then, you also have on Daniel's side, he has a rebellious daughter who gets linked up. She goes on a date, and you've seen the original Karate Kid, right?
Yeah, of course.
They go on a date, I kid you not, to golf and stuff.
Oh, Jesus.
And so golf and stuff is still there after all these years. And it's like a throwback, you know what I mean? But then now it's like, but they basically start building a friendship. So they, meaning Daniel LaRusso's daughter and this Johnny Lawrence's student, they start liking one another, but little unbeknownst to both of them that they're dating. So Johnny and Daniel don't know. And I think that it shows you how people can lose sight of things and it shapes who they are. and so it's crazy, man. I heard that. I mean, I know episode 5 and 6 were the peak of the season,
Mhm.
and by the way, it got renewed for season 2 coming in 2019. So they're going to do 10 more episodes next year, which should be about a year from now. I still don't think that's a good idea because I think that what they should do is do it like a season. Make it a 1 hour show or a half an hour show, whatever. I personally think it should be 1 hour. Let them release one episode per week so that
Mhm.
people can keep their interest because now you have such a good thing that you've done. You released all 10 episodes. People are going to watch it. They're going to lose their YouTube Red subscriptions, right?
Mhm.
And then they're going to forget about it for an entire year. And it's just I don't think the marketing from YouTube Red is right. That's just my opinion.
That's a very good observation right there. I think that's a good idea. What you said. I think with this day and age, and I'm guilty of it too. Everybody needs everything right now. You can't wait a week.
Exactly.
You
Right.
need to binge everything. So it's just like these kids say they don't know how to tell time with the clocks. Like last week's chewed out. These kids everybody's getting everything handed to them, and you're right. I think people are going to lose sight of the show, and they're going to forget everything, and then they have to, resubscribe to it. And they're like, oh, you know what? I only watched it for that. Maybe I'll find it somewhere else.
Wow. That's a really, really good point. So, what the hell is this?
What's that?
Glenn, give me a second. Hold on. I got to see what's going on here. Hold on. Winston, come here. Winston, I got to know. Who's this? Who's that at the door? I gotta know. Who? Is that Winston? Who is that at the door? Larry. Hey, listen, this might be his manner, and I don't care what establishment, but it is. But the folks, in case you don't know, the interns have now protested. The inmates are running the asylum. So Jeremiah and Winston over here are pretty much taken over. They're only allowing me into Studio A. They don't want Larry in here. They're protesting because it's unethical, unfair treatment. And he's at the door right now. Winston, here, I'm going to give you this samurai sword. Do me a favor. If he comes through that door, just stab him right in the stomach, straight ahead. That's all. Yeah, so he could commit Harry on his own. I don't know. Do not save him. Don't pull the sword out of his stomach. Nothing. And if worst comes to worst, use the Glock, okay? Because Jeremiah is too much of a bitch to actually shoot the bastard. Not my fucking problem, pal. Sickening. And by the way, Glenn, so if Mr. Mormon comes in, you just shoot him on the spot. I give you permission. Anyway, I hopefully nobody will review this with the county police department, but that's a different story. So, Glenn, you said that you had some notes about last week's solo show, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, please share it with the audience here.
First off, I love the ringtone that you have. Love it. I wanted to do the little dance as I heard it when I'm listening to the replay of the podcast. And also, how's Ensign doing? With Steven Seagal coming to the door and just breaking his bones, that was killer.
That was unbelievable. I mean, Mr. Seagal was nice. He was cool with me. I mean, he's a very sensitive guy, and he's like sensitive meaning that like he's strong, very emotional guy, very strong spirited. It was good to interview and all that. It's just that you don't want to press his buttons. And I mean, look, Ensign did it to himself. He was stealing mints. He was stealing, he was stealing other stuff. He stole a candy bar. It's not his. And Mr. Seagal, he stands for justice. I think he was out for justice.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Ensign thought that he was above the law. He thought he was hard to kill. But little did he know that he was on deadly ground. And this entire, studio for that
Yes.
moment when he got his hands and legs snapped, he was under siege.
hmm And looks like it's under siege too.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's
And
like,
then Larry was marked for death. I don't know.
yeah, I think that, he could be marked for death. I mean, well, if he comes through the door, he will be marked for death. And,
then,
I mean, like, because, like we can give him a new nickname, which is the Glimmer Man. The other thing, too, is that after he got his legs snapped, Ensign was definitely, there was definitely fire down below. I could tell you that much right now. You know what I mean?
If Larry comes in, he's left to have some exit wounds.
Right. Exactly. Right. I think he's digging his own cradle to the grave, but that's a different story. But like, hey, I mean, so what were some of the notes that you had, man? I don't know where the hell he something I don't know, man. I you had some notes, and I don't know what happened to Ensign. So I heard that Jeremiah felt really bad, took him to the hospital, and I haven't heard from him since. So but you was so what were some notes?
First off, great show, great job doing the solo show by yourself.
Thank you. That was a lot of work.
I was talking to some other people; they didn't even know you even had another co-host.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's
I thought every show was a solo show. I don't know. They didn't hear Larry at all. I don't know.
Oh, whoa! The L word.
L word. Got the
yeah.
L word, the W word.
Yeah. I mean, that's we got to bleep that out, guys. Bleep that out, please. So you were saying?
But yeah, definitely, a great show, great job on your behalf with the Anthony Chu show.
And, I appreciate that. Very humbled to hear that.
I think the Yin and Yang is going to be all king of all podcasts soon.
Nothing but to the top. The best is yet to come, especially in a dawn of a new era. Especially with you on the show now. Forget it, man. This show is going to skyrocket. I know. So, my friend, you're in your 30s, am I right?
Oh yes, I'm almost up there almost close to the 40s now.
How old were you in 1993?
13.
You were 13 years old. Okay. 1993, I was 17. Wow, so we're not too far away.
No, not at all.
Same generation. So at 17 years old in 1993, I got to see a movie that I went with our good friend. Well, he's still my friend, but we're not in the same network anymore. My good friend Anthony Rippo, and pretty much of this gaming show. I forgot what the hell it was called. Yeah, I mean it was the supposed mothership of this other network. But anyway, something like that, right? Yeah, something like Raincoat, Rainbow, Rain Dawn. I don't know, Rain Man, something like that. But anyway, the point is that back in 1993, we went and we saw a movie called Only the Strong, right? And it turns 25 this year, just to show you how old we are. 25 years ago, the movie Only the Strong in 1993 comes out. And have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't. I was looking at it, reviewing it, like trying to look at what was about. I'm like, I honestly don't think I've ever seen it. And just by looking at it and watch the trailer, I'm like, I want to watch it now.
Oh, okay. So the movie is starring Mark Dacascos, who, if you don't know who Mark Dacascos is, he is the chairman in Iron Chef. Basically, Mark Dacascos plays an ex-Navy SEAL who returns to Florida into his old stomping grounds and finds that his high school is he plays Lewis Stevens, who comes back to his old high school to find out that his high school is gang and drug ridden. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to use the art of capoeira to actually rehab 12 of the single worst students in Miami or in that school. And he goes through several obstacles, one of them being a local drug lord who's very powerful and connected with a lot of funding. And he also fights the Jamaican Posse, who's an affiliate of this gang. of this Brazilian gang. So it is, till this date, the only movie from beginning to end that shows primarily and specifically the art of capoeira. Now, for me, at least at 17 years old, watching this movie, I have never, ever seen an art like capoeira. You know, people nowadays, we know what it is. You know, I've never heard the music that goes along with capoeira. I didn't know where it was from until I actually seen it. And the art basically was brought over by African slaves from Angola, and during the slave trade or the slavery days of in Brazil, where a lot of Africans were brought over to Brazil, they developed this art, but they were not allowed to practice it because they thought it was a form of fighting. So the slave masters didn't want the capoeira players, they're called capoeiristas, you know, they don't want them to play because they thought that it would be like a revolution or revolt. So they masked it as a dance, and that's when they combined the music with it, which, you know, has roots of African rhythms. And it was just unbelievable to see capoeira for the first time and to experience what I saw, and it was just unbelievable. So I can't believe, man, I feel old now. You know what I mean, bro?
Really, definitely. Anything you say 25 years and you're still in existence, and at that time, now a teenager, I just turned 38. It's like it's like, oh, 30 years ago I did this. You can say it's like, it's just crazy to even think about half the things. Like, I was playing a video game the other day and it said like 1988. I'm like, really? That was 30 years ago I got this game? And this was a different podcast for the other day, but I just can't believe, like, time is really flying. But as long as our bodies are still feeling young and stuff, and in our mind, then I think we're doing pretty good. But from the movie, when you described about the slaves, I read up on that, and that actually made me want to watch the movie a little bit more to see what this was. And just coming back from New Orleans and then learning, and I was on a plantation, and then learning about the slaves and the dances they did over there as well, and hearing about this was a form of fighting, it sounded really cool, and I definitely want to check this out, and I urge people to go look this up. Go to, anyway, I actually did see that this was actually on YouTube.
Yep,
the movie.
Exactly. Check it out.
Yeah, so I definitely got it saved, and I got some time. Going to check it out, and I urge everybody else to check it out too.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. You know, and by the way, a little something just to review back or rewind back. So my previous quote unquote employer, if you really want to call that, or / co-host, actually challenged me to do that solo show because he doesn't think that YouTube and Spreaker combined that we can have over 100 listeners. So I need to basically meet that goal. So choose Commandos, Glen's Generals. Let's make it happen. Let's get together and let's do this. Let's get over 100 listens on YouTube and Spreaker and everywhere else that you find your podcast. You know, so now with that said, my favorite episode, or segment of the show simply starts off like this.
I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
Now, Glenn, he's not talking to you. All right. Now, allow me to give you the topic of the week. Now, you've heard the show, so you know it can be about anything. My co-host never knows what the topic is. I've come up with some crazy shit. And I mean, you know, I've researched and come up with a lot of crazy shit in the last 32 episodes. But for episode 33, I think that we've just raised the bar. Okay? So, yeah. And, you know, the one thing about the Notaro Network is that we don't just raise the bar. We are the bar. I think I fucked that up. Yeah, we are the bar. Exactly. Right? Now, you know, here's the thing. Okay? I'm reading this article, and you're going to absolutely think this is insane. Okay? But Brother, what if I was to tell you that Scott Coker, meaning the pretty much the Dana White of Bellator, mixed martial arts, Bellator Fighting Championship, he claims, and I kid you not, he was in negotiations with 50 Cent, the rapper 50 Cent, that he might possibly enter an MMA cage in the future. And do you know who his opponent's going to be? You will not believe this.
Vanilla Ice? I don't know.
Maybe MC Hammer.
That's an MC. Real
No,
MC
he's
Hammer?
going to fight Gerardo, from Rico Suave.
Jeez. He's still alive? Man.
Yeah, I mean,
how old is that guy?
I don't know, dude. He must have been at least 50-something years old, right? Okay, I kid you not. 50 Cent was in possible negotiations that is somewhere in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to step into an MMA cage, probably if he's talking to Scott Coker, it's probably going to be in Bellator, to fight. You ready for this one? Ding, 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 ding. Quentin Rampage Jackson.
Is he crazy?
Exactly. Are you out of your fucking mind? Why in living hell would you want to be that stupid to literally put your life and limb at risk? Are you really, number one, are you really that poor that since didn't he file for bankruptcy or something?
Yeah, he filed bankruptcy. He was shot 9 times. So I guess if he can survive that, he can survive a beating by Rampage Jackson, I guess. At least it'll be Jackson versus Jackson. I don't know. But
I mean, shit. It's like the guy, he has to be paid. I mean, he's this rapper. I mean, he's a rapper. He formed the Money Team with Floyd Mayweather in 2012, but then parted ways with the promoter while it was still a fledgling entity, right? He's had beef with former light heavyweight champion Conor McJackass, meaning McGregor, right? And literally, he's 42 years old. I mean, Rampage is 40 fucking years old, but are you kidding? Can you imagine 50 Cent versus Rampage Jackson in a freaking MMA cage?
Maybe in a video game.
You know what?
I can see that happening, but in real life.
Right after this episode, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call Scott Coker. And you know what I'm going to ask him to do? I want to fight Bobby Lashley. All right?
I want to go against Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, let's just call
Dana White
up and let's set up a fight between me versus Brock Lesnar. Are you stupid? Why would you? Okay, look, when he first came out, I'm not going to say to you, I'm not a 50 Cent fan, but let's not negate the fact that when he first came out with that song In the Club, when that first came out, I literally thought the dude was mentally challenged. He sounds like a fucking moron. He doesn't even sound like he knows how to speak correctly, like he has slurred speech. It didn't even sound correct. The song, listen, as of late, his music didn't get released. It escaped, all right? You can't come up with proper music, which is what you are. You're supposedly a quote-unquote rapper, okay? That ain't working out good for you. Apparently, the brain ain't working because you want to possibly get in a cage with Rampage Jackson. Rampage will kill you. He won't even kill you. He will knock you out cold, and then you'll really have a good, legitimate excuse to be a moron. You fucking dumbass. So you know what? With that said, I have only one last thing to say about this topic before we move on to this this is a godforsaken bullshit topic here. My question is simply this, Glenn. Do you know what happens when stupid people do stupid shit like 50 Cent, who's a musician, if you really want to even call him that, barely a musician? Yeah, quote unquote, and wants to enter a world he knows absolutely nothing about and feels like he's a tough guy because he's taken some boxing lessons. You know what happens, huh? 50 Cent? Huh? You know what happens? You just got chewed out.
No.
You
gave it to him good there
stupid,
today.
dumb, slithering dipshit. Fuck. What the hell's wrong with people? You know what, folks? If you don't want to be told that you're stupid, well, then stop doing stupid shit. Stop saying stupid things. And then people won't think that you're dumb and stupid at the same time. Maybe both. I don't know. Good God. Like, what is wrong with people, man? Ay, ay, ay.
Has he been even training for the fight?
Doesn't even say. Hasn't said anything. They said they're in the talks. He was very interested about it. He was thinking about, and I mean, of all the people you chose, Rampage. I mean, like, look, I know Rampage is not in his prime, but still, I mean, for God's sake, it's like me trying to get into the ring with like Ken Shamrock right now. It'll still kill me.
Yeah. Who was one guy you would like to face?
I'm sorry?
Who was one guy you would like to face, like fight?
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. That's a really good question. If I had to really fight with proper training, not like, not like what 50 Cent's doing. Proper training. Okay. I would want to get down to 180, 185, right? And I would love to basically get into, and I would love to challenge him to drop down to the weight of 180, 185 pounds. Meet me in the octagon. Meet me in a cage. Meet me in a ring. I don't care where. And I'll do it anytime, anywhere, any place. And what we could do is we can literally, all the proceeds of the fight goes to charity. I won't collect 1 cent off of this, right? And if there is profit to be made, if he beats me, I will openly tell you right now, I will give him every single dime of that fight purse that I would have made. And you know who the opponent would be?
Who is it?
I challenge you, Larry Mormon.
Oh.
If you have the balls to go down to the weight class, I'll even meet you at 205. I'll meet you at 225. We'll do a catch weight. And you come to me, we sign a contract with any MMA promotion. All proceeds goes to charity, which is something that the only thing charitable that you've ever done is basically just not show up for episode 32. That's the most charitable thing you've ever done to me and for me. 25 years of grief. I will pound you out and tap you out for the 25 years of grief that you have struck since 1994. Yes, since about 94, 95 or so. Over 20 plus years of destruction. 2 decades of destruction. I will pound you out once and for all so we can get this over. This will be bigger than The Rock versus Cena. Bigger than Undertaker's last match. Bigger than anything else that you would ever see. Bigger than Hogan Andre.
Anything bigger than the USW's ever produced.
Exactly. Exactly. But we can even revive Impact Wrestling right now, as far as I'm concerned. I think that Mr. Mormon's trying to knock on the door again. Like I said, just shoot him. That's it. Simple as that. Anyway.
He's trying to answer the challenge, maybe.
I think so. So, let's do something fun, shall we? Can we get into a positive subject there, Glenn?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So we always take care of the fans. We always pretty much answer fan questions and pretty much, because we built this podcast for the people, by the people, and, we take questions, comments, shout outs, stuff like that. So got a few. All right. Let's see here. So let's take some questions here. So this is actually not a question. This is actually a comment that came from a listener named Sean, who's from Raleigh, North Carolina. He says, Anthony, great to hear the podcast is going on strong. One of the greatest things that you could have done is basically dropping the bomb that you did a solo show and dropping the excess weight that is known as your former co-host. It's always been said by the medical industry and known across the world that dropping excess weight is actually good for your health. Well, thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate that. I'm glad I dropped the excess weight, all 200 blah, blah, blah pounds worth of the guy. All right. And yes, I feel a hell of a lot lighter, and I do feel much better. So thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate that. Now, the other question, the first question here at hand actually comes from Reno. His name is Reno, and of all things, he's actually from Dallas, Texas. Reno writes to us today and asks, if you had to train in one mixed martial arts camp, which one would you choose? Wow, that's a damn good question. Who would I choose? Ooh, there's so many different camps out there, you know what I mean? I would love to choose a camp based out of Lake Forest, California, that was in existence, and it was home to my favorite MMA fighter of all time. His name is Mark the Filipino Wrecking Machine Munoz, and it's known as the Rain. It's produced multiple champions, and Mark Munoz is just one of my favorite fighters. So I would love to just train with him. I think he brings a lot of skill of wrestling. He has a great Muay Thai coach. He brings a lot of different skills to the table. Also, in affiliation with Mark Munoz's camp, which is known as the Rain Training Center, is a camp not too far away called King's MMA. And they're known for their striking, their Muay Thai. And it's operated by Rafael Cordero, who's known as the Mestre. He's like one of the best striking coaches in the country. I would love to train from him, just to even learn from him for one lesson. So that's my answer. Glenn, what do you think?
Very good questions from the two so far. Well, the one statement and then one question. That's why actually I had that written down for you as well. What place you would love to train with if you had to. So the person, we were on the same wavelength there with the question.
There you go.
There's so many schools out there from what I've seen, and I think there was one on Long Island. You always see these things. They always used to be like karate studios, and then all of a sudden they started turning into MMA things a little bit. So once that came up, it was like the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Matt Serra had a couple of schools by me here, and it's becoming a thing. And I've even seen
Serra is a famed practitioner. He was a former champion in the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he's also a hometown hero. So, out in, I think it's based in, he has one in Huntington. Mm-hmm. And I think the other one, the other school, his main branch school is actually in East Meadow, I think, or something like that in New York, right? Long Island?
Yes, that's right. That's right. I've seen
it. Man. Very cool. I miss the Hooters. That wasn't too far away. You know how many UFC fights I've seen at Hooters over there? Back in the day when I had fat boy issues and I would just eat wings. Oh, that was some good times.
When I heard your last meal, it made me laugh because when they asked you, "Are you from the South?" When on the other network.
Oh yeah. Hey man,
and I'm like, I was cracking up because I'm like you make me hungry. Like, guys, I know what you've done. You're looking good. What you've done. You cut out all that stuff.
I appreciate that. Hard work,
It is. Oh, it takes a lot of hard work.
Okay, your last meal, what would it be?
Definitely, I just had it earlier. Some eggplant, parmesan, a crave case from White Castle. Before they put that gas on me, I'll put the gas right on them,
I haven't eaten White Castle since I was a kid. So what is the crave case?
It is 30 burgers in one case.
Oh, my God. Holy smoke.
The most I've eaten, I think, was like 19 out of the thing.
Woo! Wow.
With a chocolate shake, mozzarella sticks, and
what happened to the
next morning? I wasn't feeling too hot.
What happened to the other 11?
They were eating. I know it was like we split it, but I ate more than my share, so.
Okay.
And then the next day I had Boston Market, and.
Oh man, what a crazy combo, man!
One of those things you had to get up for the grind early in the morning, and like. Not today.
Geez.
Not today.
So what else would there be? Eggplant parmesan, a crave case. What else?
Probably, definitely I like some garlic knots from some pizza places over here. Maybe
Oh yeah.
a dozen of those. Definitely some dessert. Applebee's, the cookie and the ice cream.
Oh yes.
And a nice
Beautiful.
big chocolate shake, you know?
I was about to ask you, what would you drink? You a nice big thick chocolate shake? Oh
Thick,
hell
yeah,
yeah!
definitely. I want to make that sucker last.
Got to make that with Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Ooh, now you're talking. I had that in Texas. It was really, really good on a nice hot day. Whew.
The only thing I have never ever had, and I've been dying to eat this food. I just want to know what it's like. Is I would love to know what I've never been to a Shake Shack.
No,
No,
it's
I mean,
pretty.
because every time I go, the lines are out the door.
Yeah, definitely. It's they got one in Westbury here. They got one in Penn Station, outside by the Barclays Center. I fit that out a couple times before
Right.
shows there at Barclays. Got to get there early though
Now,
if you
does it
want
live
to.
up to the hype? I mean, is it good?
It's good. It's not like the greatest thing, but it's good. Like definitely, it's not. It's the one place you go to. Like it's not like that's my go-to place, but
Uh-huh. I want to go to this one place in Phoenix, Arizona called the Heart Attack Grill. You ever
I've
heard of
heard
it?
of it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what the Heart Attack Grill is, it's basically a place that is a hospital, like an emergency room themed restaurant. You go in there and you basically, they give you like one of those patient gowns, and they have these really hot women who work there they look like naughty nurses, and they diagnose you, and there's a doctor that diagnoses what kind of a bypass, quote unquote, surgery you should have. So each patty is I think it's like a half a pound. And pretty much there's a bypass, a double bypass, triple bypass burger, and then they have their quadruple bypass burger, which is basically four patties, which is 2 pounds of meat, stacked on a burger. And if you can eat the whole thing, you get a wheelchair ride out to your car from one of the naughty nurses. Now, there is a an unlimited French fry bar, which basically all the fries are cooked in lard. All right. Yes, there's no diet drinks. So there's basically, it's all sugar filled sodas, and I think they have the Cokes with the Mexican sugar, right? Like the real sugar, cane sugar or something like that, right? And here's the kicker of this place. They have a scale in there. And if you weigh over 350 pounds, you eat for free. So you get like a bypass burger, as many as you want. And they serve it to you in single bypass burgers, and you get as many as you want until your heart's content. Dude, that's awesome. That's like, I'm sure it's probably, slicker than cum on a gold tooth. It's probably smoother than whale shit on an ice float. But anyway, enough of my insanity. So, okay, even the technical team is laughing back there. We've got problems today. All right, Jeremiah, you're doing a good job. Just keep on laughing. I don't know what you're laughing at, but okay. Anyway,
Great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And hey, man, it's always good to have a prepared, knowledgeable, insightful, intelligent co-host. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Unlike Brand X on the other side of the fence over there, on the other side of the headphones in a different network, but we won't get into that. You know what I mean? All right, so we have this last question comes from Kiara. She's writing from Oakland, California, and she asked that if you had to go and for an entire year train amongst the masters, what country would you travel to train? Wow. That's a damn good question. I mean, Kiara, I'm going to say this to you now. It's one of the best questions I've been asked on the show in quite some time. I'm not saying that the other questions aren't good. We take care of our commandos. We take care of Glen's generals now, but here's the thing. there are so many different nations that offer so many different martial arts. I would say to you that if I really, really wanted to go and get an overall good perspective of a well-rounded martial arts for an entire year, I would honestly have to travel, I kid you not, to, of all places, I mean, excluding the United States, I would probably have to say that I would probably travel to Japan, and I'll tell you why. And this is nothing against, my peeps in China or any of my descendants or my family members or whatnot, but there's something that Japan has that Chinese and Korean martial arts do not have, or any other Asian countries or any other nations and that do not have, which is that Japan has weaponry, Japan has striking arts, it has grappling arts, it has a certain culture and a work ethic, and I'm not, again, discounting anybody else, but I just think that this is a very intelligent question. I'm going to use my words correctly here, and I would say that Japan would be it because I could learn judo, I can learn a lot of like Aikido. If I wanted to learn weaponry, there is Bushido. There's like the art of the sword, like Kendo and things like that. If I wanted to learn how to strike, there's so many different arts like Okinawan Goju, Ishin Ryu, the Shotokan, Kyoko Shinkai, karate, Miyagi-Do karate. I don't know. I mean, like, there's just so many different things. So, it's just, I just think that would be the most well-rounded. Now, I mean, again, this is a very, very, it's a matter of opinion. So I really cannot say, I would say an honorable mention to it would be China, or any other nation. If I had to pick, I think that the question would be easier if you went as far as continents are concerned or a certain area. But that's a damn good question. I really commend you. So thank you, fans, for sending in a question. If you have any questions for us, please write to us. These questions are stacking up on the email. It is yinandyangpodcast@gmail.com. The email address is yinandyangpodcast@gmail.com. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your love and support and for listening and downloading. So as we wrap it up for the week, episode 33 is in the books. We really should name this episode 1, right, Glenn?
Oh, definitely episode 1. It's a new era, a new dawning, new age of podcasting.
It's just, we're just a bunch of new age outlaws coming out, hitting up the fans here, making sure they're taken care of. It's a podcast for the people, by the people. You choose to listen to us for a reason, and we're very humbled and honored to have you as fans and listeners. We're all one big family here. So as we're depleting the resources now, I just wanted to let you know that, Glenn, as we've done this first episode here, you are my new co-host for the Yin and the Yang. I applaud you, my friend.
Thank you.
I have never been on a network. I've never been with a co-host that is as prepared, knowledgeable, giving me insight, having good charisma. Look,
thank you.
Everybody, and I'm going to say this to you now, you're not just a co-host. You're a good friend of mine. We've hung out, we've drank, we've ate together. And I got to say, man, it's a pleasure to really be on your network. It's a pleasure to have you on the airwaves with me. We're going to produce some amazing things, Glenn. I'm telling you, man.
Exactly. We're going to take this show on the road. We're going to take it to new heights. We're going to take it worldwide, as
to
they
the moon
say.
and back.
And we're just going to go places that podcasts have never gone before. And I appreciate all the kind words that you said and the chance to be on the Chew Network as well.
Is this thing on? Did you finally? Did you hit?
Hell?
Did you hit the button?
No,
Am I?
Hold on.
Listen,
All right,
what
good.
you
Nope.
doing?
Hey, no. All right, look.
Shoot
What's
him.
going on?
Shoot
So-
him. Stab him.
No,
Stab him
he's-
now.
Look.
Stab him in the back right now.
I'm
stabbing a backstabber.
Anthony, you can hear me now, right?
Oh, son of a bitch.
The world can hear me now.
Hey.
Glenn can hear me.
What do you want?
What?
Why are you here? What the hell is this, Glenn? What the hell's going on over there?
I finally found my spare key that I hid underneath the fake doggy do.
Mute his mic.
And no, I'm in the production booth now. He doesn't have.
No.
He doesn't have.
No. What are you doing?
So after going through 3 piles of doggy do, I finally found my spare key in the fake one, and I finally was able to break into my own studio. This is nuts. Last week you broke into the studio, which was nuts.
Whoa, no. Well, how did you expect to do the show?
I challenged you to do a solo show. And you know what? I'm going to give credit where credit is due. You nailed it. You were tremendous in your solo show. Other than the fact that you broke into my house and used my multi-million-dollar equipment, as opposed to your Kmart equipment that you use right now.
Excuse me. No, first of all, I did not break into your studio. Your interns are treated like shit. And the mere fact that Jeremiah and Winston and Ensign basically opened the door for me and allowed me to come in is not breaking and entering.
Well, be that as it may, and speaking of which, you know the paperwork I had to fill out with the police because of what happened here last week?
It's not my problem.
No, actually, it's not your problem. It's Seagal's problem, who's now my problem because he's been living in my kitchen for the last week. He won't leave. I can't get him to leave.
That's none of my business. I don't care.
Forget that part. And I finally rolled him out into the backyard anyway. Figured he's better off on the grass. But I overheard you saying that now, Glenn. And Glenn, how you doing, sir?
Very good. How you doing?
Doing well. I have no ill will against you. But I heard now that you and Glenn are doing the Yin and the Yang podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Well,
at least, excuse me, let me explain myself here. Here's what the problem is. The problem is that you are ill-prepared. Okay? Excuse me?
I'm listening.
You are ill-prepared. Okay, well, listen and shut. Look, do me a favor. Silence your cell phones and shut your mouth because I'm trying to explain here that I am walking with Notaro. Okay? Because he's offered me a better contract. He's taking care of me. He actually pays for things, all right? At the same time, the man comes in prepared. He's knowledgeable. He's respectful, all right? Mm-hmm. And I don't want him to stroke my ego. But the bottom line of it is that he really, really is into this and shows passion.
And Glenn, I'm not surprised, not in a bad way, but I didn't realize you were starting up your own network and that you signed a contract with Anthony Chu.
That I did, came through the mail. We discussed it. We looked at it. I liked the contract that I saw, so I signed it. Then we sent it back in.
So, I mean, very good. Very good.
Wait, Glenn, why are you dealing with this guy?
Hold on.
You know how corrupted he's a shyster. He's a con man. He's a flim-flammer. He's a con artist.
So
he makes, like I've said it for episodes. Why?
Well, here's I'll answer, Glenn. I will answer for Glenn.
What are you, Paul Heyman?
I do not like to lose things. And the yin and the yang was part of the More of the Same network. And it will be again because Mr. Notaro, I would like to offer not only for your contract, but in subsequent will be Mr. Chu's contract and the entire I would like to join the Notaro network to the More of the Same. I am offering Glenn, a check for Mr. Notaro for $1 million.
No, Glenn, please.
To buy lock, stock, and barrel Notaro Enterprises.
That is a very, very good offer.
Glenn, please,
and there's only a couple things I can say to that. As being the number one co-host on the Yin and the Yang podcast
please, no.
Harry Mormon, my answer to you is yes.
Please.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I accept that check.
Excellent.
And I'm going to take it all the way to the bank and get me a nice hot fudge sundae.
Good man. Good man. Remember, chocolate all the way. Chocolate all the way.
Right.
And not only that, but now, Glenn, I heard a little bit of you on the show. I would certainly like to also move forward and do some dealings with you. We're going to talk off the air about our own podcast that we're going to plan on doing, and that we will debut on the More of the Same network. So, Glenn, thank you very much. You were a tremendous help in all of this, and I will have one of the lackeys deliver this check to you by hand in about 3 to 5 business days.
Thank you, and my minions, my associates here will be waiting for that check.
Very good, and just make sure don't cash it until next Thursday. That's all.
You got it.
And Anthony, I have to say,
tell me you to tonk at me, man.
That I am back on this show because I do like doing the show, and quite frankly, you just cannot get rid of me. Just like I can. Listen, Steven, I heard you. I will refill the beer, and I will refill the... Why does everyone love ice cream around here? And I will refill the ice cream, all right? Just go back and keep doing your weird meditation or whatever that is. And I've told you for 100 times, I want your sister to sign my Married with Children box set. How hard is it to get her to sign my Married with Children box set? I don't get it. Whatever. Just go back upstairs. I don't even know why. Why won't you leave the kitchen? Somehow you put a bed in there. Anyway... And I'm very happy to be back on the Yin and the Yang podcast. And I have to say, your solo show, you proved to me that you truly are the podcaster you said you are. I will give you credit where credit is due. But next week, we will continue this tandem that we've started 33 episodes ago.
You want me to actually be happy and jovial about one of my best friends selling me out when I've pleaded to you, Glenn? Why would you do something like that? It was our way to start a revolution that we could have taken
I've muted
all
Glenn's
the way
mic.
to the top.
I've muted Glenn's mic.
Glenn, no!
Yeah, no, I'm in the
Glenn,
broadcast booth,
you
so
son
there's
of a
nothing.
bitch!
There's nothing
Why
he can
the
do.
hell did
And
you do that?
we're back. We're back, and
stupid
we've depleted the resources, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to the end here, and I just want to say on behalf of Anthony Chu, live long and prosper. Work out, eat right, and until then, well, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Auf Wiedersehen.